I discovered my sister had been lying to me for 7 years, the same day I was supposed to co-sign for her business loan. The loan officer was sitting in my living room, professional smile fixed in place, documents spread across my coffee table, like promises I hadn't yet learned were traps. My sister was wearing that expression I'd seen 1,000 times, the one that made me feel like the successful older sibling, the responsible one, the woman who showed up when family needed her most. But my phone was vibrating in my purse with a message that would turn that expression into something I could finally see clearly, something manipulative and cold and calculated. My name is Rochelle. If you had asked me a week ago what kind of woman I was, I would have told you I was the kind who took care of her people, the kind who worked overtime at the hospital so her younger sister could pursue her dreams when their mother passed away from complications of diabetes, the kind who showed up at midnight when her nephew supposedly needed emergency medication, no questions asked, wallet open. That's who I thought I was, a good woman, a family woman, the kind of sister every girl should have. I was wrong about so many things. Before this story truly begins, please leave us a comment telling us which state or city you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe so this channel can grow and bring you more compelling stories. It started 7 years ago on a Thursday evening in March. I remember because it was 2 days before I was supposed to close on my first condo, a one-bedroom in Hyde Park that I had saved 3 years to afford. I was 34 then, working as a nurse practitioner at a community health clinic and picking up weekend shifts at an urgent care center. I wasn't wealthy, but I was stable. I had savings, I had plans. I was thinking about finally taking that trip to Ghana I'd been dreaming about, maybe even looking into starting my own practice someday. My boyfriend Marcus and I had been together for 4 years, and we were talking seriously about moving in together, about building something real. My phone rang at 9 at night. My sister's name lit up the screen. Monique, 4 years younger than me, always the one who needed saving. When we were kids, I was the one who defended her from the mean girls at school. I was the one who helped her study for tests, who coached her through her first interview, who loaned her money for her first apartment deposit when our mother said she needed to learn responsibility. Rochelle! Her voice was shattered, broken in a way that made my stomach drop. I was folding laundry in my apartment, and I immediately sat down on the edge of my bed. What's wrong? What happened? It's Jamal, my nephew, 7 years old, bright smile, obsessed with dinosaurs. Rochelle, he had a seizure at school today. They rushed him to the hospital and they ran tests and they found something. The words tumbled out, between sobs. Tumor, brain, inoperable, experimental treatment, insurance denied, $50,000. I remember sitting there on my bed, my hands shaking, feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath me. $50,000. I had maybe 15,000 in savings, maybe. I'll figure it out, I heard myself say. Don't worry, baby girl. We'll figure it out. Monique sobbed harder. I knew you'd help. You always help. You're the only person I can count on. The only one. I called in sick the next day. I called Marcus and told him I had a family crisis. I went to the bank and withdrew every dollar I'd saved from my condo. $15,218. The dream of homeownership dissolved in an instant. But what choice did I have? I applied for a personal loan and got approved for $20,000 at an interest rate that made me nauseous. I called my Aunt Beverly and borrowed $10,000, swearing I'd pay her back within 2 years. I put my paid off car up for sale and bought a cheaper one, keeping the difference. I picked up extra overnight shifts. I stopped getting my hair done professionally and learned to do it myself. I canceled the vacation I'd planned with Marcus because I needed every penny. He sat across from me at my kitchen table, his eyes searching my face. How much do you need to give her? 50,000 for Jamal's treatment. Marcus's expression shifted. Something flickered there, something I was too panicked and too certain of my duty to recognize. That's everything you've saved, Rochelle. That's your condo down payment. That's your future. He's 7 years old. He's my nephew. What else am I supposed to do? Marcus reached across the table and took my hand. I'm not saying don't help. I'm saying make sure you understand what you're paying for. Get documentation. Talk to the doctors yourself. Make sure this is real. I pulled my hand back, feeling defensive and angry. You think my sister is lying about her son having brain cancer? I didn't say that. I'm saying protect yourself. That's a life-changing amount of money. But I heard what he wasn't saying. I heard the suspicion, and it made me furious. What kind of person questions a mother whose child is dying? I know my sister, I said coldly. I know my family. Within 2 months, I had scraped together $50,000. It nearly broke me. I worked 80-hour weeks. I ate instant noodles and peanut butter toast. I ignored Marcus's calls asking me to slow down, to take a break, to let him help me think this through rationally. I didn't want rational. I wanted to save my nephew's life. I met Monique at a cafe in Bronzeville. She arrived looking haggard, her hair wrapped in a scarf, her eyes hollow. She'd lost weight. She held me so tight I could barely breathe. You actually got it, she whispered. You actually came through. I handed her an envelope, $50,000 in a cashier's check. She stared at it like it was salvation. Like I was salvation. I'll pay you back, she promised. Once his medical bills get sorted out with the insurance appeal, I'll pay back every penny. Don't worry about that now. Just focus on Jamal. She cried. I held her. I felt like a hero. That was 7 years ago. The next several months were a fog of text message updates. The treatment was aggressive but necessary. Jamal was responding. It was hard, so hard, but they were managing. Monique sent me photos of Jamal looking tired and pale, wearing a hospital bracelet. In some photos, his head was shaved. I assumed from the treatment. I asked to visit. Monique said his immune system was compromised and they were limiting contact. I asked which hospital. She said they'd moved him to a specialized children's facility downstate, somewhere with better resources. I asked for the name. She gave me one. I looked it up and it existed. A real hospital, a real pediatric neurology department. I asked to speak with his doctors. Monique said she'd arrange it, but then there were complications and scheduling conflicts. I asked for medical records. She said she'd get them, but then Jamal had a setback and she was too overwhelmed to deal with administrative tasks. Marcus asked me if I'd seen any actual proof, any documentation beyond photos and texts. I told him to back off. I told him he didn't understand family obligations. I told him he was being cold and cynical, and that if he couldn't support me through this, maybe we weren't compatible. He looked at me with something like grief in his eyes. I love you, Rochelle, but you're so deep in this that you can't see straight. You're choosing blindness. I'm choosing faith in my family. Those aren't the same thing. We broke up 6 weeks later. He said he couldn't watch me destroy yourself for someone who was exploiting me. I said he couldn't understand what it meant to be there for family. We said terrible things to each other, things that left scars. I moved out of his place and into a studio apartment in a rough neighborhood. I told myself it was temporary just until I recovered financially. The months became years. Jamal's treatment continued. There were good days and bad days, new protocols, different specialists. Monique's life became a medical soap opera. I followed through scattered updates and rare photos. I saw Jamal maybe 4 times in those first 3 years, always brief encounters when Monique brought him into town between appointments. He looked okay to me, maybe a little tired, but children bounce back. I told myself he was a fighter. I worked myself to exhaustion. I paid off the personal loan in 20 months. I paid back Aunt Beverly in 3 years. I rebuilt my savings penny by penny. I bought a reliable used car. I got promoted to senior practitioner. I dated occasionally, but nothing stuck. The ghost of Marcus and the weight of my sacrifice for Jamal made me bitter in ways I didn't want to acknowledge. Monique never mentioned paying me back. The insurance settlement she'd talked about never came through. When I brought it up once, gently, she became defensive. You think I'm not grateful? You think I don't carry that guilt every single day? I'm buried in medical debt, Rochelle. The $50,000 you gave me kept him alive, but it didn't solve everything. We've spent double that on treatments insurance won't touch. I'm working myself to death. I barely sleep. I'm doing everything I can. I felt horrible for even mentioning it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I was just checking in. The update is that my son is alive because of you. Isn't that what matters? I told her yes. I convinced myself it was enough. By year 5, I'd stopped asking about the money. I'd accepted it was a gift, not a loan. $50,000 to save a child's life seemed worth it. I tried not to think about the condo I never bought, the practice I never started, the life I'd deferred. I tried not to think about Marcus, who I heard through mutual friends had gotten married to a woman he met at his gym. I tried not to think about the fact that I was approaching 40 and still living in a cramped apartment despite a good salary. I tried to be the good sister, the selfless aunt, the woman who did the right thing. Then last month, everything shattered. It started with a phone call from Aunt Beverly. She was calling from the emergency room. Stroke minor, they said, but scary. The doctors wanted to monitor her overnight. Could I come? I left work mid-shift, got coverage, and drove straight to the hospital. Aunt Beverly looked fragile in that bed, hooked up to machines that beeped rhythmically. She was 72, retired from the post office, a pillar of her church. She'd been like a second mother to me and Monique after our own mother died. How you feeling, Auntie? Like I got hit by a truck, baby, but they say I'm going to be fine. She studied my face, with those sharp eyes that never missed anything. You look worn out. Just work stress, you know how it is. You still working all them extra shifts? Yeah, trying to save for a place of my own. Aunt Beverly was quiet for a long moment. The machines beeped. A cart rattled past in the hallway. I need to tell you something, she said finally. I wasn't going to say nothing. Figured it wasn't my place. But lying here thinking about my mortality and all, I realized staying quiet is wrong too. My chest tightened. What are you talking about? About 2 years ago, I saw your sister at that riverboat casino in East Chicago. She was with some man I ain't never seen before. They was at the craps table. She was laughing and carrying on. Looked like she was having the time of her life. I frowned. So she had a night out. She deserves that after everything she's been through with Jamal. She was throwing money around like she owned the mint, Rochelle. $100 bills. I watched her lose near about $3,000 in maybe half an hour, and she just laughed and kept going. Didn't even seem bothered. The room felt colder. Maybe she'd gotten some insurance money or something. Maybe. Aunt Beverly fixed me with a look. But I also seen Jamal about 3 months ago at the mall. I was shopping for my grandbaby's birthday, and there he was with Monique, running around that arcade like any other healthy kid. Hair grown out nice, full of energy. Didn't look like he'd ever been sick in his life. I stood up abruptly. My hands were shaking. What are you saying? I'm saying you might want to ask some hard questions, baby. I'm saying I've seen women lie about their kids being sick to get money before. It happens more than folks want to believe. You're wrong. You have to be wrong. I hope to God I am, but if I die tonight, I couldn't meet my maker without telling you what I saw. I left the hospital feeling like I was walking through fog. I sat in my car in the parking lot for over an hour, phone in my hand, trying to decide what to do. Aunt Beverly was old. She could have been confused. The casino incident was 2 years ago. Memory plays tricks, but doubt, once it takes root, spreads like wildfire. I called Monique. Hey, how's Jamal doing? He's good. We just got back from a checkup. Doctors are really pleased with how he's progressing. Her voice sounded normal, light, no stress. That's wonderful. Which clinic was that at? The usual one, you know. Actually, I don't remember which one. I was thinking of sending the staff a thank you gift or something. A pause, small but noticeable. You don't have to do that, Rochelle. They're just doing their jobs. I want to. What's the address? Another pause, longer. I don't have it on me right now. I'll text it to you later. She never did. I started investigating. It felt wrong, like I was betraying family, like I was choosing to believe the worst. But I couldn't stop. I called the hospital Monique had named years ago, the specialized facility where Jamal supposedly received treatment. I said I was verifying records for insurance purposes. They told me they had no patient by that name in their system. I told myself records get lost. High pay regulations are strict. They might not be able to share information. I searched for the clinic Monique mentioned. There were multiple facilities in the area with similar names. I called each one. None had any record of my nephew. I told myself maybe she was using a different name for privacy. Medical fraud happens. Identity protection matters. I hired a private investigator, a woman named Tasha, who worked out of a small office in Chatham. She looked at me with practiced compassion when I explained what I needed. You understand this might not be what you want to hear, she said. I understand, but I have to know. It took her 10 days. She handed me a manila folder across her desk. Inside were photographs, Jamal at a trampoline park laughing and jumping with friends, Jamal at a basketball game eating nachos, Jamal at school, a private academy that cost $12,000 a year in tuition. All the photos were time-stamped from the last 8 months. No medical appointments? My voice sounded hollow. None that I could find. No hospital visits, no pharmacy records, nothing. I talked to some parents at his school. Nobody mentioned him ever being sick. One mom said she'd been to multiple birthday parties at your sister's house, said it was real nice, big, looked expensive. I stared at the photos, at my nephew's full head of hair, at his healthy, energetic body, at his complete and total wellness. I also went through your sister's social media. Tasha slid more papers across. Her accounts are private, but I have my methods. She's been taking trips, Vegas, Miami, Jamaica, designer handbags, expensive dinners. She posted about buying a new SUV 4 months ago. Premium model. The folder felt like it was burning my hands. Here's the thing, Tasha said gently. I've seen this kind of scam before. Sometimes it's Munchausen by proxy where parents actually harm their kids for attention. But this is cleaner. This is straight fraud. She lied about her son being sick to get money from you and probably others. It's calculated, it's deliberate. I couldn't breathe. The walls seemed to be closing in around me. I'm sorry, Tasha said. I know this isn't what you hoped to find. I paid her. I thanked her. I walked out into the bright afternoon and stood on the sidewalk holding that folder, trying to remember how to function. 7 years, $50,000, a lost relationship, a derailed life, all based on a lie. I went home to my cramped studio apartment and I sat on my secondhand couch and I opened that folder again. I looked at every single photograph. I read every transaction Tasha had documented, gambling, shopping, vacations. My sister had taken my $50,000 and lived like she didn't have a care in the world while I struggled. The anger came slowly at first, then all at once. It started as a tight knot in my chest and then exploded through my entire body. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw things. I wanted to drive to her nice house in her nice neighborhood and demand answers, demand my money, demand she look me in the eye and explain why. But I didn't, because I knew if I confronted her now, she'd have her story ready, she'd cry, she'd make excuses. She'd twist it until somehow I was wrong, for doubting her, for investigating her, for daring to question a mother's love for her sick child. I needed to be smarter. I needed to be strategic. I needed a plan. The first person I called was Marcus. My ex-boyfriend picked up on the second ring, his voice cautious. Rochelle, everything okay? You were right, I said. My voice cracked. About Monique, about everything. You were right, and I was so stupid. Silence. Then softly, tell me what happened. I told him everything. The money, the lies, the investigation, the photos. When I finished, I was crying. Deep, gulping sobs that I couldn't control. God, Rochelle. His voice was pained. I'm so sorry. I'm so damn sorry. I need help. I need to figure out what to do. I can't just let her get away with this. You shouldn't, but you need to be careful. You need evidence, documentation, a solid case. If you're going after her for fraud, it has to be airtight. Will you help me? A long pause. I held my breath, knowing I had no right to ask, knowing I'd pushed him away when he tried to warn me. Yeah, he said finally. I'll help you. Not because we're together anymore, but because what she did is wrong, and somebody needs to hold her accountable. When do you want to meet? We met the next evening at a coffee shop in Bronzeville, the same neighborhood where I'd handed my sister that check 7 years ago. The symmetry felt cruel. Marcus looked good. He'd always been handsome, but now he looked settled, content. He was wearing a wedding ring that caught the light. "You look good," I said awkwardly as we sat down. "Thanks. You look exhausted." "I've been exhausted for 7 years." He pulled out a notebook and a pen. "Okay. Tell me everything you know and everything you can prove." I showed him the folder from Tasha. I showed him every text exchange with Monique over the years, every vague update about Jamal's treatment, every deflection when I asked for specifics. I showed him my bank records, the loan documents, the receipts. Marcus took notes, his expression serious. He'd always been good at this, seeing patterns, organizing information. It's what made him a good accountant. "This is fraud," he said finally. "Wire fraud, specifically. She solicited money under false pretenses. If you can prove she knew her son wasn't sick, which these photos and school records strongly suggest, you have a criminal case. You could also pursue civil damages. I don't want to put her in prison. She's still my sister." Marcus looked at me steadily. "She stole $50,000 from you, Rochelle. She stole 7 years of your life. She let you work yourself nearly to death while she lived large. She destroyed your relationship with me, your credit, your dreams, your future. And she didn't lose one night of sleep over it. She kept lying, kept taking, kept letting you sacrifice. That's not just wrong. That's cruel. That's calculated." I stared at my coffee cup. He was right. I knew he was right. But the part of me that had spent decades being the protective big sister couldn't quite accept it. "There might be another approach," Marcus said slowly. "One that gets you your money without criminal charges. But it requires you to do something hard." "What?" "You have to outplay her at her own game. You have to make her think she's about to get caught, but give her a way out. You scare her into paying you back voluntarily." "How?" "By setting a trap. You said she called you recently asking for something?" "Yeah, last week. She wants me to co-sign on a business loan. Said she's starting an online boutique and the bank needs someone with good credit to guarantee it. She said it would really help her, that she's trying to build something for her and Jamal's future. She's desperate for cash or credit, probably maxed out and can't qualify on her own. The house, the car, the lifestyle, it's probably all leveraged. She needs your signature." Marcus leaned forward. "Tell her yes. Set up a meeting to sign the papers. Make it at your place where you control everything. And then? Then you show her what you know. You lay out the evidence. You tell her you're prepared to file criminal charges unless she pays you back in full. You give her a choice, repay you or face prosecution. Will she believe I'd actually do it? I'm her sister. She'll believe it if you mean it. And Rochelle, you have to be willing to follow through. Otherwise, she'll manipulate you again." Marcus reached across the table. He didn't take my hand, but the gesture was there. "Can you do that? Can you actually see it through?" I thought about the last 7 years. The extra shifts, the ramen noodles, the studio apartment, the broken dreams, the lost relationship. "Yeah," I said, "I can do that." We spent the next 3 weeks building the case. Marcus helped me organize everything. We created a timeline with dates, amounts, and specific lies Monique had told. We printed the photos from Tasha's investigation. We drafted a formal demand letter and a criminal complaint ready to be filed with the state's attorney. I also consulted with a lawyer friend from the clinic. She reviewed everything and nodded grimly. "You've got a solid case for wire fraud and theft by deception, with the electronic communications showing she solicited money specifically for medical treatment. That never occurred. A prosecutor would definitely take this. The amount pushes it into felony territory. She's looking at real prison time if convicted." "How much time?" "Could be 3 to 7 years plus restitution, though collecting restitution is hard if she's broke." My stomach churned. "And if she pays me back voluntarily?" "Then you don't file charges, and this stays between you. That's your leverage. Pay up or go to prison." I called Monique that evening. I kept my voice normal, supportive. Hey, about that business loan thing. I thought about it and I want to help. When do you need me to sign? She sounded relieved, almost giddy. Oh my God, Rochelle, thank you so much. You're literally saving my life right now. I can have the loan officer come to your place next Saturday if that works. That works. 2 o'clock? Perfect. You're the best sister anyone could ask for. I mean that. The words that used to fill me with pride now made me feel sick. Saturday arrived. I cleaned my apartment compulsively, not because it needed it, but because I needed something to do with my shaking hands. Marcus came over an hour early. He'd taken the day off work, told his wife this was important. You ready? He asked. No, but I'm doing it anyway. Good, remember, stay calm. Don't get emotional. Stick to the facts. She's going to cry. She's going to make excuses. She's going to try to make you feel guilty. Don't let her. What if she just leaves? Then you file charges Monday morning. But I don't think she will. She needs this loan too badly. She's in too deep. At 2 o'clock exactly, there was a knock. I opened the door to find Monique and a loan officer, a young woman in business casual carrying a briefcase. My sister looked prosperous. She was wearing designer jeans and a leather jacket. Her hair was freshly done, nails perfect. She looked like success personified. She hugged me tight. Thank you so much for this. You have no idea how much it means. I smelled her perfume, expensive, the kind that costs a week's worth of groceries. The loan officer started setting up documents on my coffee table, papers, disclosure forms, a notary stamp. Monique sat on my couch, relaxed and confident, chatting about how excited she was about the boutique, how this was going to change everything for her and Jamal. I glanced at Marcus, sitting quietly in the corner. He gave me a small nod. It was time. Actually, I said, before we start, I need to discuss something with you. Monique looked up, still smiling. Sure, what's up? I need to talk about Jamal's medical treatment from 7 years ago. The smile didn't falter, but something shifted behind her eyes. A wariness. Okay, what about it? I picked up the folder from my kitchen counter and brought it to the coffee table. I opened it deliberately, spreading out the photos like cards in a game. Jamal at the trampoline park, at school, at the basketball game. I need you to explain why your son, who supposedly had inoperable brain cancer, looks perfectly healthy in these recent photos. The silence was absolute. The loan officer looked confused, glancing between us. Monique stared at the photos, her face draining of color. I can explain, she said quickly. He recovered. I told you he beat it. That's what I've been saying. Really, because I called every hospital and clinic you ever mentioned. None of them have any record of him ever being a patient. I pulled out more documents. I have a private investigator's report documenting 6 months of Jamal's activities, soccer practice, birthday parties, school events, not one single medical appointment. Monique stood up. Who the hell do you think you are, spying on me? Investigating my family? I'm the sister who gave you $50,000 to save your son's life. Except there was no life to save, was there? He was never sick. You lied. That's not true. You don't understand how complicated the medical system is. Records get lost or filed under different names or... Stop lying. My voice came out harder than I intended. I know the truth, Monique. I know you made the whole thing up. I know you took my money and gambled it away, spent it on designer bags and vacations and a lifestyle you couldn't afford. I know you lied to me for 7 years while I destroyed my life trying to help you. She was shaken now. You don't know what you're talking about. Marcus stood up and stepped forward. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm a forensic accountant. Your sister asked me to review this case. He handed Monique his business card. We have documented evidence of fraud. We have enough to file criminal charges that would result in a felony conviction and significant prison time. Monique looked at the card, then at me, her eyes wide. You're threatening to send me to prison? Your own sister? You're the one who committed fraud, I said. You're the one who stole from me. I didn't steal. You gave me that money willingly. Under false pretenses, you lied about your son having cancer. That's fraud. That's a crime. The loan officer was packing up her things, quickly. I'm going to step outside. This seems like a family matter. After she left, Monique collapsed back onto the couch. She put her face in her hands. When she looked up, mascara was running down her cheeks. I messed up, she whispered. I know I messed up. But I was desperate. I was drowning in debt from credit cards and rent, and I couldn't figure out how to dig myself out. I thought if I could just get enough money to catch up, I could pay you back eventually. I thought it would be temporary. 7 years is not temporary. I know. It spiraled. I kept thinking I could win it back at the casino, that I could make enough to pay you and still have something left. But I just got deeper. And then I started spending because it felt good to not be broke for once. And now I'm in over my head again. She looked at me with streaming eyes. I'm sorry, Rochelle. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I felt nothing. The tears that might have moved me before left me completely unmoved. All I could see was the leather jacket she was wearing, the designer purse at her feet, the life she'd built on my sacrifice. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus said, his voice cold and professional. You're going to pay Rochelle back. Every cent of the $50,000 plus 7 years of interest at 6%. That brings the total to $71,000. Monique's head snapped up. I don't have that kind of money. Then you'll get it. You'll take out a loan. You'll sell your house. You'll sell your car. I don't care how. But you have 90 days to come up with $71,000 or we file criminal charges. That's impossible. I can't get that much money in 90 days. Then I guess you're going to prison, I said flatly. She stared at me. You wouldn't really do that? You're my sister. You're right, I'm your sister. I'm the sister who worked 80-hour weeks to save your son's life. I'm the sister who gave you everything I had. I'm the sister who destroyed my relationship, my credit, my dreams because I loved you and trusted you. And you repaid me by lying to my face for 7 years while you lived like a queen on my money. I leaned forward. So yeah, I'll absolutely send you to prison because you're not my sister anymore. My sister would never have done this to me. The silence stretched. Monique was crying harder now, her whole body shaking. But I felt nothing except cold satisfaction that finally, she was facing consequences. 90 days, Marcus repeated. We'll send payment instructions. Monique left without another word, stumbling out of my apartment like a woman in shock. The loan officer was long gone. It was just me and Marcus in my small living room, afternoon light slanting through the windows. I sat down heavily on the couch. You did good, Marcus said quietly. I feel terrible. That's because you're a good person who just had to do a hard thing, but it was the right thing. I just threatened my baby sister with prison. Your baby sister stole $50,000 from you and let you suffer for years. Don't forget that part. I looked at him, at his kind face, his steady presence. Why are you really helping me? After I pushed you away, chose her over you, why would you do this? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Because 7 years ago, I loved you enough to tell you the truth, even though I knew it would cost me our relationship. And because watching her get away with this would be wrong. And maybe because part of me needed to know that sometimes the good people win. Are we the good people? Today we are. The 90 days that followed felt endless. I didn't hear from Monique directly. All communication went through Marcus. At first, there was nothing. Then, at day 25, a lawyer contacted Marcus on her behalf, trying to negotiate the amount, trying to set up a payment plan. Marcus shut it down immediately. $71,000 in 90 days, or we file charges, non-negotiable. At day 50, Monique's lawyer tried again. She'd listed her house, but it wasn't selling fast enough. Could we extend the deadline? No, Marcus said simply. At day 70, I got a call from Aunt Beverly. Rochelle, what's happening with your sister? She came to me crying, saying you're trying to destroy her over some misunderstanding about money. It's not a misunderstanding, Auntie. She lied about Jamal being sick and took $50,000 from me. I'm just asking for my money back. Aunt Beverly sighed deeply. I was afraid you'd confirmed what I saw. I hoped I was wrong. You weren't. What happens if she doesn't pay? Then I file criminal charges. That's harsh, baby. So was 7 years of lies. On day 88, late in the evening, Marcus called me. She came through, just wired the full amount to the escrow account. I had to sit down. My legs gave out. How? Sold the house at a loss, sold the car, maxed out what credit she had left, borrowed from everyone she could. I think she finally believed you'd follow through. I would have. I know, that's why she paid. The money was transferred to my account the next morning. $71,000. I stared at the notification on my phone for a long time, waiting to feel something. Victory, relief, justice. Instead, I just felt empty. I paid off the last of my debts. I put a down payment on a small condo in a decent neighborhood. I traded in my old car for something reliable. I put the rest in savings and investments. My credit score climbed, my life stabilized. But I didn't hear from Monique. No apology, no explanation, just silence. Until 4 months later, when she sent a text, just one line. I hope you're satisfied. You ruined my life. I stared at that message, my coffee growing cold in my hands. I typed and deleted a dozen responses. Finally, I settled on honesty. No, you ruined your own life. I just stopped letting you ruin mine. I blocked her number after that. Aunt Beverly called a few weeks later. Monique left town, moved in with some man she met online, took Jamal with her. Nobody's heard much from her. How's Jamal handling it? According to her Facebook, he's fine, still healthy, still in school, still never had cancer. Good. You did right, even though it was hard. I know. But knowing and feeling are different things. 8 months after I got my money back, I ran into Marcus at a hospital fundraiser. He was there with his wife, a petite woman with warm eyes and an easy laugh. They looked happy. Rochelle, he said, surprise and something like warmth in his voice. How are you? I'm good, really good. Got a condo, got my finances sorted, got promoted to lead practitioner. I smiled at his wife. You must be the lucky woman I've heard about. Jasmine, she said, shaking my hand. Nice to finally meet you. We chatted about surface things, work, the weather, mutual acquaintances. Then Marcus said, I'm glad you're doing well. You deserve it. I couldn't have done it without your help. You saved me when you didn't have to. You saved yourself. I just helped you see what was always there. After they left, I stood alone with my glass of wine, watching the fundraiser bustle around me. I thought about the woman I was 7 years ago, eager to help, certain of her righteousness, blind to manipulation. I thought about the woman I was now, harder, warier, less trusting. I wasn't sure which version I liked better, but I was free, and that meant something. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. This is Jamal. I'm 14 now. I just found out the truth about what Mom did. She told me. You knew I'd been sick and helped pay for treatment. I didn't know she lied. I'm sorry she used me to hurt you. You were always good to me. I stared at that message for a long time, my throat tight. Jamal. 7 when this started, 14 now, old enough to understand what his mother had done. I typed carefully. Thank you for telling me. None of this was your fault. I hope you're doing okay. I'm okay. I just wanted you to know I loved you, that I never meant for you to get hurt. I know, sweetheart. You take care of yourself. You too, Auntie Rochelle. I put my phone away and finished my wine. The fundraiser continued around me, full of people with their own stories, their own betrayals, their own choices about whether to be victims or survivors. I chose survivor. It cost me 7 years, $50,000, a relationship, and a sister. But I got myself back, and that was worth everything. That night, alone in my condo, in my own space that nobody had manipulated me into giving up, I slept better than I had in 7 years. The morning sun came through my bedroom window, warm and golden, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I woke up without the crushing weight of someone else's lies pressing down on my chest. I made coffee in my own kitchen, sat at my own table, looked around at the life I'd rebuilt with money that was truly mine. My phone rang. Saturday morning, early. I almost didn't answer, but the name on the screen made me pause. Keisha, My best friend from nursing school, someone I'd drifted away from during those dark years of working myself to exhaustion. Girl, is this really your number? I've been trying to find you for months. Yeah, it's me. How'd you track me down? Ran into Aunt Beverly at the grocery store. She gave me your new number, said you'd moved, got a place, got your life together. What happened? Last I heard, you were working yourself half to death. We talked for over an hour. I gave her the condensed version, the fake illness, the $50,000, the investigation, the confrontation, the repayment. Keisha listened without interrupting, and when I finished, she let out a long whistle. That's cold. From your own sister. That's ice cold. Yeah. You know what? Something similar happened to my cousin a while back. Her best friend claimed her daughter needed surgery, got money from half the church. Turned out the whole thing was made up. Used the money for a new car and vacations. That's what the investigator told me. Said she'd seen it more times than I'd believe. So what now? You and Monique done forever? I thought about it. Probably. I can't imagine trusting her again. Can't imagine sitting across from her pretending everything's fine. Some things you don't recover from. That's real. Hey, I'm having a girls' brunch next Sunday. You should come. Bring whoever you want. It's time you had a social life again. Time you had some joy. I agreed, and the next Sunday, I showed up at Keisha's place with a bottle of mimosa mix and genuine appetite for life. The brunch was full of women I used to know and some new faces. There was laughter, good food, the kind of easy connection I'd forgotten existed. A woman named India struck up a conversation with me near the fruit platter. She was an elementary school principal with intelligent eyes and an infectious laugh. We talked about everything and nothing. Books we'd read, places we wanted to travel, our worst dating disasters. You seem like there's a story there, she said eventually. Like you've been through something. Just coming out of a rough period, trying to remember what normal feels like. Well, you seem pretty normal to me, she smiled, in the best way. We exchanged numbers. She texted me a few days later asking if I wanted to grab coffee. I said yes. We met at a cafe in Hyde Park, not far from where I used to live in that cramped studio, and the neighborhood felt different now, lighter, like I'd shed a skin there. India and I talked for hours. I found myself telling her about Monique, about the betrayal, about fighting to get my life back. I didn't usually open up like that so early, but something about her made it feel safe. That's terrible, she said, when I finished. The betrayal from someone you trusted that much. That cuts deep. It did, but I survived it. Got my money back, got my life back. Now I'm just trying to figure out what comes next. What do you want to come next? I considered. Something honest. Something real. I spent so many years being used without knowing it. Now I just want relationships where people are genuine. No games, no manipulation, just truth. That's not too much to ask for. We kept seeing each other, nothing rushed, just easy connection. Dinners, movies, long walks. She had her own career, her own apartment, her own full life. She didn't need anything from me except my company. It was refreshing. It was peaceful. 4 months in, she met Aunt Beverly at a family cookout. Monique. Wasn't there. Wasn't invited. After the party, Aunt Beverly pulled me aside. That India is good people. Don't let this one slip away. I'm trying not to. You seem different. Lighter. Like you finally put down something you'd been carrying too long. I guess I did. You still think about Monique? Sometimes. Mostly I wonder if she ever really loved me or if I was always just a resource, a bank account in human form. Aunt Beverly was quiet a moment. I think she loved you in her way, but some people's love is broken. They can't care about someone without using them. It's not an excuse. It's just the reality. Her way of loving almost destroyed me. But it didn't. You're still standing. That means something. A year passed, then another. My life found a rhythm that felt sustainable. Work was fulfilling. I'd been promoted again, now overseeing our clinic's community outreach program. The condo was paid down steadily. My retirement account was healthy. India and I had moved in together, talking sometimes about marriage, but in no rush. We were building something solid. I didn't hear from Monique at all during those 2 years. No texts, no calls, no holiday messages. It was like she'd been erased from my life. Sometimes I wondered how she was doing, if she'd learned anything, if she felt genuine remorse or just resentment at getting caught. Then, 2 years and 3 months after the confrontation, I got a message on Facebook from Jamal. Auntie Rochelle, I need to tell you something. Mom's in the hospital. She got in a bad car accident. It's serious. She keeps asking for you. My first instinct was to ignore it, to block the message and move on. She'd made her choices. She'd destroyed our relationship. Why should I show up now? But Jamal was involved, and despite everything, Jamal had been innocent. He'd been used as a prop in his mother's scheme. He didn't deserve to lose his aunt on top of everything else. I talked to India about it that night. We were on our couch, her head on my shoulder, some cooking competition playing on TV. I don't know what to do, I said. Part of me wants to go see her one last time. Part of me never wants to see her again. What do you actually want? Not what you think you should want. What do you really want? I thought carefully. I think I need closure, real closure. I need to look her in the eye and know that I'm completely done, that I don't owe her anything, not even my presence if she's dying. But I need to make that choice consciously, from clarity, not anger. Then let's go. I'll drive. The hospital was in Gary, Indiana, a 2-hour drive. Jamal met us in the lobby. He was 16 now, taller than me, with his father's build and his mother's eyes. There was a sadness in him that seemed too heavy for someone so young. "Thank you for coming," he said, hugging me tight. "I wasn't sure you would." "How bad is she?" "She's stable now, but it was touch and go for a while. Broken bones, internal injuries. She's lucky to be alive." His voice cracked. "She keeps saying she needs to talk to you, that she has to tell you something important." We took the elevator to the ICU. The ward was quiet except for monitors beeping and soft-soled shoes on linoleum. Monique was in room 318, hooked up to machines and IVs, her face swollen and bruised, her arm in a cast. When she saw me, tears started immediately. "Rochelle, you came. Jamal said you wanted to talk. I need to apologize. I need to tell you I'm sorry before it's too late. You're not dying. Jamal said you're stable. But I could have died, and the last thing between us would have been hatred and lies." She tried to shift in bed and winced with pain. "I was wrong, so wrong. What I did to you was unforgivable. I took advantage of your love, your trust. I destroyed your life for my own selfish reasons. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve to even ask. But I needed you to know that I understand what I did. I'm not making excuses anymore." I stood there looking at my baby sister in a hospital bed, broken and sorry and small. I waited for the anger, the satisfaction of seeing her suffer, but I felt nothing except tired sadness. "I forgave you a long time ago," I said quietly. "Not because you deserved it, because carrying that anger was poisoning me. I forgave you so I could heal, so I could build a life that wasn't defined by what you did." "You forgave me?" "I forgave you. But that doesn't mean I trust you, doesn't mean I want you in my life, doesn't mean we're sisters again. It just means I'm not carrying your sins anymore." I put them down and walked away. Monique cried harder. "I understand. I don't blame you. I'm just glad you found peace. Are you okay? Really?" She laughed bitterly. "No, I'm not okay. Lost everything. Living with Jamal's father's family, but we're a burden. Working 3 jobs, still drowning in debt. Everything I did to avoid struggling, I ended up struggling anyway. It's karma. It's consequences." "Yeah." She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "For what it's worth, I think about you every day. What I took from you. Who I could have been if I'd been honest. What our relationship could have been. Me too." We talked a little longer. Surface things. How Jamal was doing in school. What my life looked like now. Nothing deep. Nothing that could rebuild what was shattered. When India and I left, I hugged Jamal goodbye and told him he could always call me if he needed advice or just someone to talk to. Not money, but support. In the car heading home, India took my hand. "How do you feel?" "Lighter, like I buried something that needed bearing." Do you think she meant the apology? Yeah, I think so. But she's sorry because she got caught and because her life fell apart. She's sorry because she's suffering. That's different from understanding the real damage she caused. You're probably right, but it doesn't matter anymore. I'm not doing this for her. I'm doing it for me, closing the door completely so I can live fully in what comes next. And I did. I went back to my life with India. We got married 8 months later in a small ceremony at Aunt Beverly's church. Close friends and family. Jamal came. Monique wasn't invited. I built a good life. Not perfect, but authentic. I learned to trust again, carefully. I learned to spot manipulation and walk away early. I learned that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who claim to love you hardest. I learned that family isn't just blood, and you don't owe loyalty to people who've proven they don't value you. Sometimes I still think about the woman I was at 34 handing over that check, feeling like a hero. That woman was naive, blind, so desperate to be needed that she couldn't see she was being exploited. I don't hate her. I just learned from her mistakes. But I'm not her anymore. I'm someone who knows the cost of misplaced trust, someone who knows that love without boundaries is just vulnerability. Someone who knows that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who hurt you, even if they're family, even if they're sorry. 5 years after that confrontation in my apartment, I can say the best decision I ever made was demanding my money back. Not because of the money itself, though that mattered, but because it forced me to choose myself, to stop being a victim and become someone who wouldn't tolerate being victimized. It taught me that accountability matters, that consequences matter, that sometimes the kindest thing is letting people face the full weight of their actions, not from cruelty, but from respect. Respect for yourself, that you won't be used. Respect for them, that they're capable of growing from their mistakes. I don't know if Monique ever really learned. I hope she did for Jamal's sake, but it's not my responsibility anymore. She made her choices, I made mine, and my choices led me here, to a wife who treats me as an equal, to a home that's truly mine, to savings and security and a future I control, to friends who value me, to family who respects me, to peace. That's worth more than $50,000, worth more than 7 years of suffering, worth the hard choice to stop being the good sister and start being the whole person. So if someone asks if I regret confronting Monique, if I regret threatening her, if I regret destroying our relationship to get my money back, the answer is simple. No, not even a little. Because that confrontation didn't destroy our relationship. She destroyed it 7 years earlier when she looked at me and saw a resource instead of a person, when she chose her greed over my trust, when she let me sacrifice while she lived well without a second thought. I just stopped pretending the relationship she destroyed still existed. And that wasn't destruction, that was liberation. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. On the screen, you can see 2 new stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next story with love and respect.